Welcome back, Sager Mountain. Here we go, chapter 4, wild. Living up on the mountain, most of us have wild animal stories. Our ranch was near or just beneath Breckenridge Mountain at the southern tip of the National Forest. Given that and the fact that we sell property and talk to so many people, we probably have a few more than most. So I was actually just talking to a buddy the other day about some wild animal stuff, and of course the famous stories came up. The one about the chimpanzee rescue where the guy got his manhood and face attacked. I said to my buddy Ben, you know, we had like a counseling session with one of the sheriffs that was the first on scene. He was over at our place checking to make sure I did not shoot up our house. Some kids at Logan School started a rumor. It's crazy. Anyways, we were like, sure, come in and check it out. Then we proceeded to talk about the chimps. So this guy, to the best of my recollection, was first on the scene. One of the chimp owners brought their chimps to a birthday cake. The other chimps in the cage got jealous and attacked the guy. Apparently, chimps go for the package and then the face. Super brutal. The owner of the chimp rescue had a child in his arms, so he ran to put the kid down, grabbed his gun, then headed back to the chimp cage and shot it in the head. The bullet just grazed off, so he had to run back and reload a Holly point, and then was able to kill the chimp that was, by this time, chewing on the dude's face. So the sheriff showed up on this brutal scene with the guy and his wife all chewed on a bunch of chimps on the loose in the forest. The sheriff telling the story was honestly affected by what he saw and the chimp hunt he had to be part of. I like to say, who knows if they got them all. That's kind of fun. Then I say to Ben, you know the one that's for sure, the ones that for sure they didn't get was the wolf pack. In this same area of Havilah, there was also a wild wolf rescue. Like any other rescue that isn't well funded and managed, it probably became more of a hoarder situation. Apparently, when the county gave notice that the property owner could not have the wolf pack on the property anymore, the lady decided that was okay and just let him go. So for many years, there have been a wolf pack running from Shadow Mountain at the south end of Walker Basin to Havilah, where the original ranch was. I have seen one of the big ones, and it is much bigger than our Rottweiler, like by a lot. You can see how they take down a deer. It did one of those jumps across the double lane road, what you would call a single step, where it just hit somewhere near the middle and was over in one bound. I had a client once who said they shot one of them. He had it tested at UC Davis and it came back 99% wolf. I was given Ben some fun info as he lives near Havilah. We had our share of close calls and adventures ourselves. We had a bunch. One that comes to mind after describing the single bound across the highway was the mountain lion that lived on our property. When we first moved in, we needed to do whatever we could to make money, and the crazy idea came of doing a side business of raising goats for meat. I have to say right off that I would not eat anything goat after being around those males. They are so disgusting. We had 4 goats, 2 males and 2 females. The males would drink the females' urine and then gurgle it and let it run down their goatee. They would do the same with their own urine. I swear these animals would smell so rank, I didn't know why anyone would want the milk or meat. I can now smell the musk on any goat product. The smell wasn't the deciding factor with those goats. It was the fact that those effers eat everything. From cardboard boxes to my beautiful fruit trees. They don't eat the leaves, they eat the whole damn tree. And the truck too, down to the nub, on the little nub on the ground. That was the last straw for me. Those goats went out on free range after that. We still fed them, but they were on the hill, away from the house. So it took a couple months, and then our eldest son Logan came in and said, "Mom, Stinky Pete is hanging in the tree." Stinky Pete. Wendy freaked out after she saw it. Being new to the mountain from the city, we figured what sick satanic person was on the mountain. We were on high alert for a trespasser until we found out that mountain lions do that with their food. It actually only took a month or so for all the 4 goats were taken. They were big meat goats. All were about waist high, a couple 100 pounds. All 4 were tree ornaments. It sure made me wonder what the size of that cat was until I came face to face with it. I was just stopped at the gate and got out of my car to open the lock. I was standing behind the door at the Toyota Yaris. It's a small commuter car, necessity on the mountain for gas. As I moved around the door, this massive cat jumped from the embankment down in front of the Yaris. It stood right in front of the car. Its head was at the driver's front light, and its body was the width of the car, with the tail just starting at the headlight. He turned his massive head right toward me and gave me the cutest cat face, then leaped down the hill. This cat had to be over 300 pounds. I am 306 foot tall, and this kitty was much bigger than me. I guess all that goat meat was enough. Riding this, I wonder if that cat was thanking me. We later found its den on the side of the mountain near the north property line. I had wished Wendy was with me to see the size of the lion. I would later tell her it was like Africa. She then said, I was in the car and Logan too. About 10 years had passed, and they say there is one male lion every 10 square miles. We had the same cat just about 2 miles from our place jump in front of the Jeep. It was fairly sure it was the same one, but now it's old and a skin hung on it, which is funny. Especially because I'm old and stuff, so that's hilarious. It took the road in one leap, and not just across it, but then up the embankment. And as you drove by, it gave the same look. What an amazing animal. Sure, we're not on the menu. That cat eats deer. There's plenty of them deers out there. I think it's funny when I hear hunters complain about not shooting a deer. They're everywhere. Like to say, get a push bar for the front of your truck and just hit one. They truly are everywhere, especially during hunting season. The deer know it if there are hunters around, and they need to stay out of the forest, so they are all around the ranches. We got within 10 feet of this deer, and it was so uninterested in us, it yawned at us as we drove by. And check this one out. Woo! That deer yawning at us right there. That's crazy. Anywho, here we go. The style of the people on the mountain is interesting to say the least. For instance, we've hit a few cows over the years. The funniest was we ran over a small cow, wiener size. That's what they call it. That's the size they take to market just after they are weaned from the mother. The cow charged the Jeep as we were going about 40. It hit our back tire. It's an off-road Jeep, and the tires are 37 inches, so we went right over that cow. After we drove over it, we pulled over and were astonished we had no damage. We literally just went right over the cow. We were headed home from the lake, and our son Logan was going to follow us a few minutes behind. When Logan drove by, he said there were people trying to load the cow in the truck. As he drove by, they said, "It's okay, it's a fresh kill." They're going to eat it. There are wild boar invading in our area. People like to try to eat them, but most don't understand how all that is supposed to work. You can't drag it for 10 miles and then eat it. Check out this picture of a big sow that someone tried to drag. It's kind of sad and funny. They're rope broke. I drove by and saw a coyote trying to get a boar. And let me tell you, them pigs are aggressive. If you look at the picture here, we got the coyote coming in here, trying to get the boar. Can you see that? The boar chasing along. I think maybe the boar's going to get the coyote. Over all the years, though, nothing was more aggressive than the rooster. As weird as the chicken, as horrible as a skunk, we decided one year that I would be a great idea to get chickens. we were going to do the farm thing. So with chickens come eggs, not just a couple, but a lot of eggs. More eggs than any family want to eat. In addition, you must clean the eggs. So I actually didn't want to eat any of them chicken eggs. It's just different when you see them lay the eggs and all that goes on with that. So we did have a few extra eggs laying around. That brought in the skunks. That is one animal that I do not mess with. They can shoot 20 feet and they can spray over and over again for almost an hour. We had caught one in a trap to remove it from under a mobile home years back. It is shocking to see what they can do and to smell how horrible it is. So we had a skunk or a couple of skunks visiting the ranch for eggs. The dogs were the first to take the brunt of it. I felt sorry for them as they were miserable for days after they got sprayed. One night, Wendy had figured the dogs had had enough and she was going to get that skunk. She waited up, and when the skunk headed into the chicken coop, Wendy snuck up in front of the fence and ate her 9mm. She took the first shot and went through the skunk's fur. Apparently, they are pretty small animals with big coats. After Wendy fired, the skunk returned fire. Wendy had to duck and weave to avoid the incoming stream of torturous smell. She fired 2 more shots with the last one hitting it. You would have thought that was a great thing, but it was like a skunk bomb went off. Apparently when they die, they give a full release. It was hard to bury without throwing up. Pretty good shot though, especially while under such intense skunk fire. And it's a compact 9mm too, so that's tough. The eggs were bad enough, but at first we had a rooster. So it wasn't all intense in eating the eggs back then. The rooster was definitely the most aggressive animal on the mountain. At first I thought this attack was funny. Not so funny though when it was attacking me. To understand the man-eating rooster, you have to go back the day he was turned evil. Wendy was pregnant with Corbin and was feeding the chickens. She had stuck her hand into the fence and was giving them some feed, I think. The rooster got a little too close and ended up biting Wendy's finger. He didn't just bite her finger, he actually took a small chunk of skin off and ate it. Immediately after that, like a shark in frenzy, the rooster decided we were on the menu and human was a delicacy to that rooster. A couple of days later, we got home and I was on the phone with a client. Wendy jumped out of the Jeep and then I could hear her yelling. She was running around the Jeep being chased by the rooster. I thought it was funny at first, but was trying to keep the cool for the call I was on. I motioned for her to be quiet. She was freaking out and I recall hanging up saying, "Hit it with one of my signs." She slapped that big bird with the sign and it just kept coming. So I jumped out as Wendy and the bird were about half lapped around again the Jeep. I then became part of the chase. This bird was running, then flying up. This run was running, then jumped, flying with his talons trying to claw at us. I then grabbed the sign and hit it so hard the sign folded. That little bastard hit the ground and then was immediately back up in the air chasing us. With that kind of aggression, it is hard to think and make a move while running circles around the Jeep avoiding rooster claws. I finally got mad and said, "Where is the 9?" I grabbed Wendy's 9mm and loaded on the bird. It only took the whole tip to kill it, and apparently that is embarrassing. Never a rooster again. We did not eat rooster that night, FYI. No way. Threw that in a hole. I did think about eating one of them chickens until one of the oddest animal incidences occurred. We had the nicest calm rooster. Really, so sweet of a bird to make it in the wild. Our chicken coop did not have a top on it, which was okay when we had the aggressive rooster. After the tough rooster was gone, the damn ravens started the attack. Ravens are very smart birds, and they were grabbing our chickens and trying to fly them up with them. We shooed them away a few times. One day the calm rooster died at the claws of the raven pack. The raven clawed the little guy and flew him up and then dropped him. On the third day he hit the ground, his neck was broken and he was dead. We were all pretty sad and it was tough to bury him the next day. Another time the female version of our calm rooster was named the Chill Chicken, passed away in the cold. We were loading up the car early in the morning, 20 degrees on the mountain, and Wendy watched as the Chill Chicken was the only bird out of the coop, and she was locked up with everything and dead. Wendy didn't want to upset the boys, so she loaded the car, intending on burying the chicken that night. When we got home, it was way too cold and really late, like 10 p.m. Actually, two freezing days went by, and the stiff chicken lay dead in the cage. I say on the third day, Wendy said it was the second day. Wendy went outside, grabbed the shovel, and headed over to bury the little chicken. She was shocked and a bit weirded out to see the baby chicken up and clucking. She was now zombie chicken. This chicken was dead but alive. I don't know how to explain it other than the chicken had like a half-life now. It was not right, not really alive, but it was. Zombie chicken lived for a little over 2 years. No animals would attack it or even go by it. A fox ate all of the chickens but left the zombie. It had white glazed over eyes, and it was our favorite pet until another pet dog finally got her. We had a drought years back, and that was when we had the most interesting of animal encounters. Apparently a main food source for black bears in our area is the yucca berries that grow at the end of the long shoots. The bears would lean over the prickly yucca base. They stand on their back legs and swat the shoots with their claws, getting the tops full of the yucca berries. We have seen it on our property. The year of the big drought was tough. Nothing wanted to grow, and the farmers in the basin were lucky to only get one cut of hay, and it was a pretty weak one. The one upside is that there wasn't much weed whacking to do, as nothing much grew, including the yucca berries. Late one night, we were all asleep. I heard Wendy get up and head to the door to scold the dog. At the time, our Rottweiler Mac would dig in the trash if it was loud outside the door. I can remember with complete accuracy the scream that Wendy made that night. When she opened the door, she shrieked, "Oh, no, no, no!" in a very high-pitched voice for my wife. Not usually by any means. Not usual by any means. I was up to the door by the time she was slamming it shut. Apparently, she had opened the door and put her face down to yell at the Rottweiler. It was the same color head digging in the trash, but so much bigger. As the 550-pound black bear turned its head toward her, they were face to face, mere inches as she started to shriek. As we stood there, the door was the only thing in between the massive bear and us, but it was so cool because it was the back door with the window, so we could look at the huge animal digging through the trash. We did grab the shotgun, but couldn't shoot it. It was so cute. We were 100% sure, but for a few years prior, we came across the cutest little baby. We weren't 100% sure, but a few years prior, we came across the cutest little baby bear in the association below our ranch, just sitting there with his paws on his belly like a little 200-pound Buddha bear. Like this. Just so cute. It was memorable because the bear had a white circle on his chest. We actually saw this bear a couple of times as it was growing, and I have a feeling this was the same one. This massive beast came back every night for a couple weeks. It became the nightly thing to watch the bear eat dog food outside the back porch. So many times both me and Wendy, or excuse me, with slugs, but were ready with slugs, but neither one of us had it in us to shoot it at first. One night, I had the bright idea I was going to use the kid's bow and arrow to hunt the sucker and maybe scare him off for good. I'm a big guy, and I had it in my head that I could intimidate the bear in the same way my father battled skunks in the city. Given my old dad's track record with skunks, it was probably a bad idea. So I did have a .22 rifle at the door for emergency protection. Silly. 22. I'm looking down the driveway, and right on time, here comes the massive guy. The way they move is a trip. They are seriously as fast as a horse. A lot of people don't know that. I had dog food down the driveway, and I watched as a bear swiftly ran up the hill and across the driveway to the big dog food bag. I actually tried to put an arrow in my kid's bow. It's funny now because it's one of those youth bows for learning. I definitely needed training on that for that shit to work. So excited to even get the arrow in the damn string. So done with that. I'm slightly up the hill from the bear and now frustrated over this stupid bow idea. Right at the minute, I could see my father when I was a child, with his afro hair and his thick glasses, screaming with intensity as he would run out of the driveway, clapping his hands, yelling at the skunks to get the hell out of here. While I'm seeing this in my mind, I'm charging down the driveway, clapping at the bear, asserting that was the man of this ranch. Looking down at the bear from the top of the driveway was probably a bit deceiving for myself. As I got closer, I could see the massive shoulders moving as he had his head down in the food. I got about 20 feet from this huge animal, and he decided to acknowledge me yelling. As he turned his massive head toward me, I could see his body language instantly change. As he turned toward me, he stood on his back legs. You know, bears are like 8 foot tall when they stand up? Like huge. Towering above me, he looked down and growled at me. It was so loud and deep that it shook my bones. I was instantly doing a Fred Flintstone the other way, with feet moving faster than my body could. I think I left a dust trail. As I got to the house, I grabbed the 22, turned and fired at the ground, and was successful in scaring him away for the night. I would say I prevailed in the encounter, but I was lucky to live. I do have to say it's about the only time in my life where I felt small. We had gone to the lake, or Lake Isabella, a couple of days later for groceries. It's about 20-30 minutes drive down the mountain to the lake. When we left, there was a brand new 50-pound bag of chicken feed left on the kids' swing set. This was close to our house, about 3/4 of the way up the drive. The shopping wasn't memorable, but when we got back, it was more than shocking that the 50-pound bag was gone and was not dragged but lifted and carried down the driveway and halfway up the hill just below the water tower. There, the bear had sat in a bush and devoured the entire bag of chicken feed, and with not one kernel or seed spilled. It was as if the bear went over to the swing set, picked up the bag of feed, swung it over his shoulder, and walked up to the comfortable spot. He must have ripped open the end of the bag and poured it down his throat, as there was nothing left but a clean bag, a bush, and no drag marks. That was the last encounter with the bear that we could allow. Our kids' safety was now priority. It wasn't a happy thing to decide we had to shoot him because he was not really threatening. Or we were just being naive. You can decide for yourself, but we did feel bad about having to come to that decision. But what else do you do? I called my father, the butcher, and asked if he would come handle the bear after we took care of him, and he was not interested. We talked about it, and I decided that I would just shoot to scare. So we loaded the 12 gauge that night with birdshot. It's small BBs that spread out. A bear's hide is thick and they don't penetrate, so I figured like being hit with one of those big bags the sheriffs shoot at rioters. Not sure, but that image would never get out of my mind. The bear approached the house, and as I opened the door, which startled him, as he turned, his backside came around. I took aim and blasted him right in the ass from 15 feet away. It was one of the most comical sights you'd ever seen, as this massive bear's ass jiggled, a loud yelp, and he was running away as fast as any racehorse. It was like a recreation of that John Candy movie. This is great for old timers who've seen it. I was sure he wouldn't be back, and he never was. Apparently, our neighbors who were having daily visits from the bear, other neighbors were also having daily visits from the bear. The neighbors had real trouble with him, losing dogs, cats, and much more food than us. My neighbor had a bear tag and he shot it. He is the one who let me know he weighed it out over 550 pounds. Another neighbor got a pic with her game camera. We can't be 100% sure she got the same bear in the shot. I think it's the same one. Do you see a white circle in his chest? And it's a dark picture because it's a game cam. I hope you guys can make it out. But if you can see, there's a Tyler truck right here, and the bear is the same height as the truck. You can't really see that. Buy the book because it's a really sweet picture to have of a crazy bear. Okay, that was a fun chapter 4. Book's available on Amazon. Thank you very much.